Hi, everybody, and welcome again today to another WinPeers Weekly webinar. Really looks like an awesome turnout today, and we really appreciate everyone's time and interest. So my name is Ben Cutler, and I'm one of our solutions specialists here at WinPeer. And just a quick introduction as we get started today. WinPeer was founded in 2003. We have thousands of partners and clients all over the world. Our award-winning plug-and-play data quality software is ranked #1 yet again. That's on G2 Crowd. So a big thanks to all of our clients and all of their awesome feedback. So we provide best-in-class, affordable data quality solutions for small and large data-driven initiatives. So each week we're hosting these webinars, typically to provide additional training and introduction to the software. And occasionally we're covering some very specific topics like today, even inviting guest speakers on occasion. So please stay tuned and join us when you can, or check us out on YouTube to see some of the more popular recorded events. So this is part 1 of a 4-part series, Global Address Cleansing. Today we're discussing problems and solutions, so it's really an overview. The next 3 parts, we're going to go more into depth, looking at address cleansing, some of the general hygiene, address matching, some of the challenges and solutions there, address verification, mail certification, geocoding, and other scenarios. Worth noting is that everyone on the call is muted, but I will start taking questions usually at about the 15 or 20-minute mark. So feel free to submit your questions along the way using the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel. Again, my name is Ben Cutler. I know we have a few joining a little late today. I'm one of our solutions specialists here at WinPeer, and I'll be your host today. Following this webinar, you'll receive an email from me with a link to the recording and a link to my online calendar. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to simply reply to the email with any questions or feedback, or feel free to pick a time if you'd like to see a more personalized demonstration or to discuss anything in more detail. So let's go ahead and start with a quick snapshot of the agenda for this 4-part series. Again, if you can't join any particular event, these recordings will be pushed over to YouTube, so please check us out there. Today we'll be starting with an overview of problems and solutions. And over the next few weeks, we'll go over each of these pieces in more detail, getting a bit more in the weeds, so to speak, looking at general cleansing and normalization scenarios, then matching and deduplication scenarios, finishing up with address verification and enrichment. In terms of today's agenda, we've already covered the introduction and the company information. So the next 2 parts here, we're going to cover an overview of the problems and solutions, followed by a brief demonstration of Clean and Match Enterprise with address verification. So let's go ahead and jump into today's topic, Global Address Cleansing, an overview of problems and solutions. We're going to start here with the 5 most common components to address data quality. That's general hygiene, verification, address matching, postal certification, and probably most importantly, fit for purpose. We're going to go through these one by one. So the first part here, general hygiene, this usually starts with a series of data quality checks to better understand the content, validity, and the structure of the data. Some of the most common problems here surround the data types, the structure, formatting, punctuation, the spacing, descriptors, and other common data quality problems. Again, this is something that we're going to look at in more detail during part 2 of this webinar series. Next is verification. And this can be done in bulk or at the point of ingestion. Address verification validates whether or not the address actually exists and helps to standardize, correct, and to make the address more complete by adding premium quality address information on top of the data that you already have. So as an example, address verification will tell you if there's a mismatch between the zip code and city name, for example. And if it's a close enough match, you'll probably see a suggested address correction. Then we have address matching, which is really a challenge in itself. Addresses have to be matched both within and across systems and data sets for a variety of reasons, including master data management, systems integrations, deduplication, searching or querying, enrichment, suppression, and really dozens of other use cases. Now, we've all probably heard the saying, computers are very fast, but they're also very dumb. Well, this is important because most of your business applications will only see ones and zeros. So if the same address appears multiple times, each time slightly differently, most systems will treat them as multiple unique addresses instead of seeing them essentially as the same location, right? Those systems won't see any relation between those addresses. The same thing applies to people names, company names, products, items, and really any other kind of data. Also, the information between systems is rarely going to match apples to apples. So address matching typically requires specialized address matching tools and techniques. Next is postal certification. So addresses are most commonly used for transportation, mailing, shipping, deliveries, and other forms of correspondence. So postal certification is the fourth most common component to address quality. Now, worth noting is that not all countries have postal certifications programs in place. Now, where address verification tells you if an address actually exists based on a series of city planning and other parameters, government data, things like that, postal certification tells you whether or not your addresses and correspondence are accurate and deliverable according to postal standards. Now, this also standardizes, corrects, and enhances the address by adding new premium quality address information, really enriching the information that you already have. Now, again, finally, and probably most importantly, is just that the data is fit for purpose. And having fit for purpose address data will usually encompass many of the components we've already discussed, especially the general hygiene component. But the specific criteria is always going to be very highly dependent upon your specific use case. So lots of different potential use cases here. Master data management, e-commerce, location-based services, IoT, geospatial analytics. These are all good examples where additional validation and other specific forms of address validation, cleansing, normalization, verification, matching, enrichment, or other forms of transformation may be required here. So of course, it's also important to think about where the data is coming from, potential problems, the recency of the data, all of those factors. So now let's make a transition here and let's take a quick look at how our plug and play software can help you to solve many of these problems. I'm going to go ahead and switch to a live screen share of Clean and Match Enterprise with address verification. This is just a brief demonstration. Again, keep in mind that over the next few weeks, we'll be going into these scenarios in more detail. Let me go ahead and prep my screen here. Great. So first off is the profiling and normalization. So what we're looking at here on the screen is the software and data from a couple of Excel worksheets down below. You can see those here. Now, after importing the data, we're going to go ahead and click on the Clean step, or Clean tab. That's in the lower left here. You can hopefully see my mouse. And once we make that transition, if you look into the lower right side of the screen, we can quickly and easily run data quality checks to better understand the content, validity, and the structure of the address data. So this is point and click, so there's not much of a learning curve. As you saw, just simply load your data and move to the Clean step. Here we can see the data quality statistics file by file. Right, the statistics are changing there. I might need to refresh. There we go. And column by column. So these are the columns contained in the file there. We can see trailing spaces, leading spaces, multiple spaces, tons of data quality metrics here. So you probably get the idea. We can export these statistics. We can also double click in most of the cells down below to preview that data in the window in the upper left here. So here what we're seeing are multiple spaces in the address 1 column, right? We can go record by record. We also have a count, right? Now, if you look above the statistics in the window in the upper right-hand side of the screen, you'll see we can also use templates to transform data types, address structure, formatting, punctuation, spacing, descriptors, and to clean and normalize other common data quality problems. So again, it's all very point and click here. You can see the check boxes. We're starting with a clean slate here. So nothing has been done at this point. It's a clean slate essentially of dirty addresses, right? A variety of different problems. You can see those down below. I'm going to go ahead and just load a few templates to set up the normalization rules. Just go ahead and give me a second to do that. I'm going to do that from the clean option up top. You can see load and save matrix, right? These are pre-existing templates that I've created based on my specific business rules, right? Essentially what the data needs. It takes just a few minutes to create the templates once and just a few seconds to load these templates, right? And I can do that to each worksheet down below. And I can use these templates from data set to data set, project to project, right? So I can build these out in advance. I can easily load them. I can modify them once they've been built. It's all very simple stuff, right? Point and click. You know, as we do this, what we're doing is essentially cleansing, standardizing, and normalizing the data based on our pre-existing business rules. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run clean here. And once I run clean, the statistics down below are also going to be updated. You can see I have no more, I don't have any multiple spaces at this point, right? The data has been cleansed and normalized. Now, once we've finished, we can go ahead and move on to next steps. From the map step, you can use our proprietary, configurable, best-in-class fuzzy match algorithms and customizable knowledge base libraries to literally process millions of complex comparisons in just a few minutes. What would probably take you weeks or months to do manually, or using other less sophisticated methods, can be done in a fraction of the time, and you'll get much better results. This essentially allows you to intelligently group information and addresses using error-tolerant algorithms to join disparate data sets, to deduplicate the data, to merge, update, overwrite, append, and to even set customizable priorities for surviving records. Also keep in mind, if we've run verification or postal certification prior to the matching, that new data can also be used to set priorities for survivorship or appending, updating, overwriting, based on using the best quality addresses. The match configuration is very simple, left to right. You can see we're on the configuration step. In blue letter up top, you can see step 1, step 2, and step 3. Choose your sources, choose your columns, and if you'd like to make any additional changes to the way that the algorithm is going to work, you can do that. How you're handling empty or null values, for example, the knowledge base library, and then just click on Start Matching. Now from there, you'll move to the results screen, which is here, and you can hide or remove system fields. I'm going to leave those for a minute. What you can see here are those system columns. Starting from the left, you can see the group ID. Right? You can see that for each group of duplicates. You can see these are duplicates here. Let's go all the way down to the bottom just for fun. Where you can see some of the different addresses being grouped here using that fuzzy logic. So you'll see the system columns, the group ID, which is essentially a cluster ID. Again, that's here. You're going to see the source name. You can see where the data is coming from. You'll see the scoring, and you can select master records, make this a little bit bigger, or select records of special interest for special handling. Up top here, you'll see a few different options that will allow you to set rules and priorities to automate the survivorship. A quick example here is just setting master records. A variety of different ways to do that with different types of logic. You can use different columns, different statements here, and different operators. This is all very customizable, right? Pretty sophisticated stuff. But I'm going to use a simple example, just setting the master record as the most popular record from that first source. We're going to run execute, and you can see that the job has been done for me, all across the board and in bulk. So from here, we can export to different sources, different target systems here. I'm going to go ahead and move back to data just for fun. That's going to take us back to the data step, where we can see we have that new table here. I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit here. Doing a quick time check. So I'm going to say clean data. And we're going to move to verify. Right? So now that we've covered the import, the cleansing, normalization, the matching and deduplication, the survivorship, let's take a quick look at the address verification, the mail certification, and the geocoding. Many of our clients purchase the software for the premium quality address verification or these other attributes. The address verification, for example, that allows you to verify addresses from 240 countries around the world, essentially running an error-tolerant pass-fail type of check, telling you whether or not the address exists and helping you to standardize, correct, and to complete those addresses with more information. So to run the verification here, we're just going to, oops. I actually wanted to get rid of those system fields. We're just going to go ahead and choose the address fields, choose our verification options, the country, and we're going to click on Start Address Verification. Now, once that's done, we're just going to scroll over to the right here to view all of the new information where everything's been standardized. Again, it's an error-tolerant pass-fail type of check, letting you know the quality of your address input there. So address quality input, these are all very good quality addresses, especially since we did the cleaning. Now, if you need to certify addresses based on postal standards, again, we're going to look up to the top here. We're going to use the CAS fields, the CAS certification for US data. That's the US postal certification process. Again, choose your country. Want to make sure you have those columns selected. Start address verification. Again, once that's completed, we're going to scroll over to the right. And the columns here with the uppercase V, and in this case, the underscore CAS, these are going to be all of the new fields provided by the CAS certification process, right? For geocoding, again, we're going to see that up top here. Again, choose your country, start address verification, and again, once more, we're just going to add those fields to the very far right here, and then from there, we're going to see the premium quality, geolat, geolong, geoaccuracy, and geodistance. So that concludes the visual demonstration today. And again, we're going to go into each component in more detail over the next 3 parts of this webinar series. I hope you can all join us. Tell friends if they'd like to join. Again, it's free. Seating is limited, so please reserve your seat early on. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and start taking questions. Feel free to submit questions about WinPeer as an organization, or about this specific webinar topic, about the software, or anything else. It's really open Q&A at this point, so feel free to submit any questions that you might have. Again, hopefully this was useful for everyone. All right, first question here. It looks like a multi-part question. So the first part of this question, does this software help with postage discounts on large lists? Yeah, absolutely. So a few different things to take into consideration there. If you're not currently, cleansing, standardizing, normalizing your data, if you're not currently, profiling the data and doing that data validation early on to better understand the data quality issues, the structure, the content, you're going to be, of course, sending out mail that you really shouldn't be, and therefore wasting spend. The next component there is the deduplication. If you're sending out duplicates, that's of course going to cost you more than it should. So we can of course help with that as well. And lastly, there is just the postal certification, and the primary benefit of postal certification above and beyond enriching and correcting and standardizing the data that you already have is going to be or are going to be the postal discounts for bulk mailing. So yeah, great question. Appreciate that. The next question here, is this done in the cloud? Yeah, so great question. What we're seeing today is done on premise, and so it's currently on premise with the Enterprise Edition. It's an annual subscription, quarterly updates, and unlimited usage during your annual subscription period. It's really designed for larger projects, big data. We are working really hard, and this hasn't been announced yet, so this is, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we're very excited because we have been working very, very hard to be able to include address verification, postal certification, geocoding, and some other things, even in our small business editions of the software. So you heard it first. It is exclusive, hasn't been announced yet, hasn't been released, so we'll keep the lid on that. But it is really exciting. It's going to be a new edition. It's really kind of pay as you go instead of you know, the current on-premise and unlimited usage. So it's going to be really more designed for some of those smaller data sets and smaller budgets. So great question there. See what other kind of questions we have coming in. Thank you, very useful. You're welcome, glad to hear, appreciate the feedback. Let's see here. Sandra, I hope you don't mind me using your first name here. Love the first question. What is geo-accuracy? Great question. You know what? That is very domain specific, and I'm not going to be able to answer that question, you know, very accurately on today's webinar, but that is something we're going to cover on probably part 3 or part 4 of this series. We'll get into some of those specifics. So between now and then, you and I can touch base. We can have that conversation. But of course, you know, it really depends on your use case there. I have a few examples, but I don't want to get ahead of myself at this point. But great question, appreciate that. Next question, what does P4 refer to? Yeah, great question. So, you know, technical answer right off the top of my head, that can be found in the help topics up top. So, you know, with any of this, you know, data, there are some more technical explanations to all of this. And if you're familiar with working with this kind of data, be it you know, the geocoding or the postal certification or the verification, for example, if you're more familiar with working with that, you're probably much more familiar with the coding as well. But the technical explanations can be found in the help files. Again, those some of those more granular topics, I can't answer just off the top of my head now, but we will be going into that in part 3 or probably 4 of this webinar series. So thank you, Sandra, appreciate your questions. Let's do a quick time check here. We've got just a few minutes left. Probably last question of the day. And again, any additional questions, if you'd like to get in touch, if you had some feedback, if you have any suggestions for future webinar topics, whatever it may be, you will get an email from me following this webinar with a link to the recording and a link to my online calendar. Feel free to reply to the email or set up some time. Last question here before we wrap up today, and want to really appreciate Mike for the reminder on this one. Is there a demo that we can test? Yes, absolutely. You can find that on the website, winpeer.com. I appreciate the reminder there. You can find this on our website, winpeer.com. It's a free download. I encourage you to do so. Probably takes 2 minutes to download, 2 minutes to install, and you can start importing data, profiling data, cleansing data, just like we saw today. We even have a simple example of the address verification, just the verification piece, and that's for a very specific region in the US. I believe it's a specific zip code in California, but you can test most of what we've seen today. We encourage you to do so. It's a free trial. We're going to leave it there today so we don't run over time. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you'll join us in the weeks to come for the next 3 parts of this series, the next 3 parts of the series. Thanks again for your interest, for your time today. Look forward to hearing from you, be it feedback or questions, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.